Hey everybody, this is Daniel with Free Tours by Foot New Orleans, and today we're going to take you on a little walk of Royal Street here in the French Quarter. We'll talk a little bit about why I want to do Royal Street here. It's because, when I was growing up in New Orleans, I was born in 1983, so, primarily my mother was actually a transplant. She was mostly from southern Indiana. And so when she got to New Orleans, she was still doing a lot of exploration of the city even when I was a kid. So she used to take us down here all the time. And so, it's one of these places that I just really got heavily accustomed to, and I really feel comfortable here. So kind of want to share it with you guys. Now, I'm not going to walk the entirety of Royal Street here today because that would be an awfully long thing to do. But I'm going to walk at least. Oh, sorry, might want to edit that part out. I got a phone call. So I'm going to walk at least a few blocks of it, just so I can kind of give you guys a really, really good sense of some of the things you can do and some of the things you ought to see while you're down here. So, let's see what Royal Street's got to offer us. So, guys, I'm starting here near at Royal Street. Actually, just behind me is St. Anne Street. So, a little bit of background on it. Royal is one of those places in the French Quarter where you can go where it isn't necessarily packed to the gills with, bars and restaurants, although there are some good restaurants on it. But for the most part, it's one of those places that you maybe typically go because you want to do some shopping. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, first off right here, right at the beginning, I want to show you guys, this is the Rodrigue Art Gallery. This was actually the gallery of George Rodrigue, and what he was, of course, mostly known for was painting Blue Dog. And you can kind of see Blue Dog there on the side of the building. Blue Dog, of course, was supposed to be a loup-garou, which is the Cajun werewolf. No better time to bring him up than right here in Halloween time. When the diaspora happened and many of the Cajuns were forced down here into Louisiana, they brought a lot of their myths and traditions with them, and one of them was they believed that a werewolf would stalk and kill them. And of course, that a little bit of that tradition actually passed down here to New Orleans as well. And of course, sometimes you may even further loup-garou called the rougarou. George Rodrigue, being a Cajun and all, by the way, definitely a story he grew up hearing. So that was really his artistic inspiration. And of course, right here we have St. Anthony's Garden, right here in the back of St. Louis Cathedral. So we're only about a block off of Jackson Square right now. What St. Anthony's Garden was traditionally known for was actually being the dueling ground for a lot of the Creole gentlemen when they fought their duels here in New Orleans. Dueling, by the way, in the Creole style was mostly done with fencing swords. Fencing was actually really a fairly popular sport in New Orleans at the time, and many of these Creole gentlemen believed that, if you wanted to settle your differences, you did so by swords, and mostly not to the death. You usually did it by first blood, So first blood was definitely, the preferred way that, many of them settled their differences. First person to bleed and get hit by the sword definitely lost the duel. Oh, we're building right over here with the big American flags on it right over there, and of course the flag of New Orleans right out there in the front with the tri-fleur-de-lis on it. That's the Bourbon Orleans Hotel. And the Bourbon Orleans Hotel was actually built in 1817, but what it's most notable for is that by 1862 it was known as the Convent of the Sisters of the Holy Family. It was founded by a woman named Sister Henriette de Lille, and by founding this convent, she founded it as the oldest African-American order in the history of the United States. This was their convent from 1862, actually all the way until 1964, so a very, very long period of time. But Henriette de Lille, unfortunately, she barely ran the convent out of this building because she died in 1862 when the Sisters of the Holy Family actually acquired the building. Today, the Bourbon Orleans Hotel is actually a very beautiful hotel, and also has the Bourbon Au Bar attached to it. And the Bourbon Au Bar that has the attachment actually has really good drinks, and they also do jazz music nightly. So Bourbon Orleans Hotel is not a bad place to think about. Also coming up over here is the Dirty Coast. Dirty Coast is actually a really fantastic place to actually get yourself some lovely souvenirs. If you want some things that are kind of, how shall we say, very quintessentially New Orleans, I highly recommend taking a look at their, t-shirts, books, and especially they also have some really awesome candles over there as well. So definitely a place worth checking out if you want to buy kind of a more original souvenir. And speaking of that, original souvenirs, this place over here, Forever New Orleans, same thing as well. They got plenty of things in here which are, you know, a little more localized. Got some nice art in there as well that you can buy for people. And once again, just some really, really more unique souvenirs. And right over here, we have the Rouse's Grocery Store, which is one of our local grocery store chains. I highly recommend that if you guys do want to, you know, come to the city and buy yourself some hot sauces and, you know, beignet mix and things like that, I wouldn't say don't go to the gift shops and things like that. I would say come here to Rouse's because you can get those kind of things that we use to cook with and all that, but you can actually get it for a little bit more of a reasonable price, something that we as locals would be willing to buy it for. No. They also have some good lunch items there as well too, if you need a little bit of food on the go. Of course, over here on your right, we have another one of our very beautiful antique stores that Royal Street is incredibly well known for. You know, some really, really good and unique items in here. And as you can see, some beautiful glass lamps and some really cool frog lamps there too. You know. So coming up over here, we also have another one of those antique shops right here. This is actually called the MS Rao. Now the MS Rao, what they are mostly known for is very high-priced items. Actually, a few years back, these people actually had a bunch of items that were owned by the Emperor Napoleon, the Empress Josephine, that they sold. So as you can see, if you do decide you want to come to MS Rao, of course, you're more than happy to just come in and take a look, and they got some beautiful, beautiful items. However, if you're planning on buying, I definitely recommend bringing money. And over here we have the Court of the Two Sisters Restaurant. And the Court of Two Sisters Restaurant, what they are mostly known for is actually a beautiful courtyard space. If you go there in the back, you can actually see a beautiful, very, very well-preserved courtyard. And that courtyard is really one of the biggest features of the place. And the food is incredibly good. However, really most people are there because they definitely want the experience of being in that courtyard. Yeah. And then of course we have over here on the side, pardon us, on the side we have a little bit more of a little more places selling local art here as well, including another Forever New Orleans. Like I said, can't say enough good about some of the things that they offer. Now we're actually coming up to the corner of Toulouse Street, and once we get past the corner of Toulouse Street, we're actually, you know, we're really heading in more of the upriver direction here on Royal, and we're also getting into a part that actually has just even a little bit more historical significance to this area. Of course, we got ourselves some beautiful architecture up here on the top. You know, and I'll tell you, every time I come down Royal Street, it's just lovely, lovely memories. What can I say? Now, over here as well, if you look up here, you have NOLA Junior and NOLA Kids. What this place is really good for is if you want to get some gifts for somebody that are in New Orleans, but of course, you know, also for the kids. So they actually have some, you know, New Orleans puzzles, some New Orleans shirts, really good selection of little plushes, and just really, really a cute children's clothing store. And then you also have the Historic New Orleans collection. Historic New Orleans collection, you can go in and take tours of this particular place. They do a lot of things with New Orleans history, as you can see. Also an incredibly beautiful gift shop. And they also have an excellent book selection. So if you are the type of person that wants to, you know, get something for New Orleans book-wise, that's a good spot. Also, they have their Welcome Center directly next door, where you can actually go in and get some information about things to do in the city, and, you know, brochures. And also, I find that the people who work there are, you know, incredibly knowledgeable about New Orleans history. So, you know, if you happen to be passing by here on Royal and you just kind of have a question, I mean, hey, ask away, you know. Then we have the Gallery Rue Toulouse here on our right, and Wellington and Company fine jewelry as well. So as I was mentioning, Royal Street, always known for its incredibly upscale shopping. And then here to our left, we have a restaurant actually called the Rib Room. Now, the Rib Room restaurant is actually attached to the Omni Royal Orleans Hotel, and also have a really excellent menu. And what they're mostly known is for their excellent cuts of meat. So you can get a really, really good steak and a really good prime rib roast beef sandwich there.
Watch my ass.
Of course, some of our beautiful carriage guides that we have as well. Of course, I get that question a lot sometimes on tours. Why are they pulled by mules? And that's because the mules can actually handle our incredibly warm temperatures. Those mules can stay on the street even up to temperatures of 95 degrees. So it allows those guys to stay in business a little longer throughout the year. Back to antiques, by the way, we also have the James H. Cohen & Son Antique Weapons and Rare Coins. This is another one of those places too that if you intend on buying anything, definitely bring money. But as I always like to say, don't walk in without it. But if you want to buy some beautiful coins, some lovely antique swords and rifles, there are really beautiful items in that area. In that store. And also the salespeople there are incredibly knowledgeable about a lot of the collectibles and many of the artifacts that they actually sell. And then one of the prizes of Royal Street right here on our left is actually going to be our courthouse building. The courthouse building, this is actually the Louisiana State Supreme Court. The building is actually made of mostly Italian marble and granite, so the building to build today would be incredibly expensive. But definitely one of the more beautiful buildings, and I'd say unique to the French Quarter for sure. And then Brennans Restaurant, which as you can see is very happy to announce that it's open. Brennans, of course, their biggest claim to fame here is they are going to be the inventors of Bananas Foster. So you want to get a really good Bananas Foster here in New Orleans, it's going to be the place to do it. And of course they do it right at the table and they prepare it, with the fire and everything. So it's definitely another thing that is worth doing. Brennan's food is actually quite good. Actually a lot of their menu items are actually rather exceptional. But where they really, really knock it out of the park is with those desserts. So it's not uncommon for people to decide to go to Brennan's and just have an appetizer and desserts and just make that the the feature of their evening meal. So not an unusual thing whatsoever. And as you guys can see, it wouldn't be New Orleans if we didn't have massive amounts of construction at all times. And also, as you guys know, Hurricane Ida just passed us by, and much of the city is kind of still in a rebuilding mode at this point. And one of the biggest issues that we have right now is some of the street lights are not really working. So a lot of places around the city are kind of four-way stops at this point. So it's just one of those things you don't really think about as being so incredibly vital until it's not there. One of those things you kind of take for granted. But last thing we heard, it's probably not going to be maybe until about the end of maybe November, December, and that they'll be thinking about, perhaps getting some of those things done and kind of, getting us back on a proper footing. And over here, we actually have Cafe Beignet. And Cafe Beignet, what they are really, really good for, of course, is not only a beautiful place on the inside, very, I guess you could say almost Parisian style in its coffee shop, but also really great beignets and cafe au lait. Of course, many of you traditionally are going to think about, going to Cafe du Monde and saying that, that's of course the one that you want, but, Cafe Beignet is worth a try. And I think that a lot of people actually who try Cafe Beignet say they actually think they like the beignets a little bit better because they're a little bit softer and a little more pillowy. And then of course we have the Bavolo Lighting Company. And the Bavolo Lighting Company, what they are mostly noted for is actually constructing the beautiful gas lanterns around New Orleans. And you can actually take the tour of the inside and they'll actually show you how a lot of the gas lanterns are actually made. It's a great little tour, very informative. And Also, what I really love about it too is that they still make a lot of those by hand. So when you go in, sometimes they'll have a guy sitting there, making them by hand, and he'll kind of go over the process with you. And it's, I gotta say, it's kind of fascinating, especially if you're a mechanically inclined type of person. You may be, you may find that even more interesting even than most. Well, last thing I'd like to show you guys, and right here, of course, is the Hotel Monteleone. Hotel Monteleone, this is one of the oldest still family-owned hotels in the entirety of the United States of America. Also considered to be a luxury hotel, a wonderful place to stay, and a lot of people, when they come to New Orleans, this is where they decide to stay, is right here at the Monteleone Hotel. But what it is mostly known for is its carousel bar. So it has a bar sitting near the lobby that as you sit there, the carousel actually kind of spins around a little bit. So, definitely something that has a very neat novelty to it. Monteleone is a very kind of old-fashioned hotel, and I think that's what a lot of people love about it, is it does have that kind of old-fashioned experience. So if that's something that you're looking for, I definitely recommend, splurging and maybe getting yourself a room at the Hotel Monteleone. So you guys, we're pretty much almost to the end of Royal Street right here, and of course that isn't everything there is to see and talk about, but I hope that, for your visit this kind of helps, and maybe some of these places will be places that you'd like to visit while you're here. And of course, if you have any further questions or comments, leave those down in the comment section. And once again, I'm Daniel. Feel free to give me a shout out in there, or of course any gratuity you'd like to leave would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, until next time, safe and happy travels.